Hi, it's Robert Fisher again, and today I'm going to discuss what I do and how it affects you in your everyday life. Whenever I tell someone that I am a metrologist, a lot of times they think I check weather. Well, it's not that. I'm not a weatherman just because I'm a metrologist. That's a meteorologist. Metrology is the study of precision measurements. And believe it or not, what I do and similar jobs to what I do affect you and everybody in the United States on either a daily or at least a weekly basis. A few examples of what I do that will affect you in your personal life. For one, it would be gas pumps. Gas pumps are calibrated annually, usually. Sometimes they're biannually, depending on what kind they are. As you know, you get what you pay for. So these gas companies or these gas stations will oftentimes go cheaper, which require the more calibration of the flow through the hoses to be calibrated more often to ensure that you're actually getting the gas that you pay for, no more, no less. There's when flow is checked in a gas pump, it is checked with a flow meter. Flow meter, all it does is we insert our standard into it, and and then we flow the fluid through it, and we get a excitation voltage on the screen, and it tells us exactly the rate of flow that it's going. And they set that on a national standard to where it is a flat rate across the board for all gas pumps. Now, regardless of what they charge, that's different due to the area. Another example of everyday life where you would be affected by what I do would be the calibration of scales. Everybody uses a scale. I'm not talking about house scales. Those are usually not calibrated. But when you go to the doctor and they have little slide bar scales, those are calibrated by me and people like me. I don't do scales anymore, but I'm still fully qualified in the calibration and use of scales. Maybe you don't go to the doctor very often. Maybe you're a trucker. Well, the truck scales at the weigh stations are calibrated by people like me too. Another type of scales, produce scales. A lot of people use produce scales. I don't eat produce myself, so I don't use them very often. But most people eat vegetables. I'm more of a carnivore. So now that I went through some of the general calibrations that would affect you, I'll tell you what I do. I am a electrical mobile calibration technician contracted to the Federal Aviation Administration. What I do is basically ensure that your plane ends up on a runway and not on the side of a mountain, which most people would agree that's probably a pretty good thing. I get thanked all the time when I tell them what I do, and they're like, "Wow, I landed safe, so you must have done your job right." So I take great pride in it's not saving lives; it's preventing human life being taken, unexpectedly. But going into more detail, what I do in the trailer that I work in, we work in a 30-foot long trailer that we pull with a Dodge Ram 3500 Cummins turbo diesel. Inside the trailer, we have two sections. The front of the trailer, where the gooseneck is, we have what's called the voltage and time domain section, and in the back we have what's called the spectrum analysis and spectral purity section, where I check for a bunch of different stuff that I'll go into when I get to that part. Front trailer. I am fully qualified on both front and back trailer, but front trailer deals with a lot simpler items. It can be anything from, let's say, a multimeter, where I have a handheld multimeter. I can just switch and then hook up connectors and check the different voltage levels that are going into this, and I make sure that those voltage levels read within a certain tolerance of what they're supposed to. Another instrument that we work on in the front trailer would be oscilloscopes. Oscilloscopes is basically a visual representation of a signal, usually a square wave or a sine wave. A square wave is just like it sounds. It just goes in a square. And using this equipment, we can actually check the width of the pulses to make sure that they're correct. And again, there's a tolerance to that as well. Moving to back trailer, there's a lot more of front trailer, but I'm wanting to get to what I'm doing every day right now because it's a lot easier for me to speak on because I work in the back trailer more often and it's more appealing to my interest. I work there Monday through Friday, almost every week. Occasionally the days are altered, but what I do is I usually work with the radar test equipment, which would include tactical air navigation equipment, which basically is a piece of equipment, has no screen. It is completely controlled by a laptop, and there's about 50 different ports on it that send or receive electrical signals. These electrical signals are the way that the airplanes in the air communicate, air to air and air to ground through the beacons. Well, I can't really express to you how important this equipment is. If we didn't have this equipment, there would be no organization, there would be no highway in the sky. It would just be chaos, because that's how they communicate. Now, the importance of doing this correctly would be, if they're sending the wrong frequencies, they don't know the exact altitude of the airplanes around them. They don't know how high they are off the ground. So it's a very crucial piece of equipment. If you ever fly, I hope you remember how important it is. Another thing that I work on, another piece of equipment, would be a spectrum analyzer. A spectrum analyzer is basically a piece of equipment that it also shows the signal, not like the oscilloscope I mentioned earlier. It shows just the signal. It shows just the fundamental signal, and it's a solid wave. Now, since I have that, I'm able to set the span or the window of what I'm looking at in order to look at the noise on the signal, because there's never just a solid signal. There's always modulation going on the signal, and I have to make sure that doesn't interfere with the signal enough to cause erroneous readings whenever they're reading the signals they get from the airplane using the beacon test set. So I do that every day. I'm very comfortable with it. I could sit here and talk about it for probably 2 hours, because there's about 1,000 different types of pieces of equipment that come in that I know how to calibrate. Due to time restraints, I'm going to cut it a little bit short and go back to saying what I do affects what I do and what people like me do. It's not a very well known thing, but you couldn't live your life without at least some of the items that I work with. And I hope that next time you're at the doctor getting weighed, you're at the grocery store checking out and getting your food weighed, and getting gas at the gas station, and anything else that has a measurement, more than likely that comes back to the metrology career field. And I hope that really enlightens you a little bit, and I hope you have a great day.